there, this is Linda and welcome to my channel. Today I am super excited to get ready for Project Life 2025 and set myself up for success. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Hey you guys, it's almost here. It's almost 2025 and I'm so excited to prep for Project Life again in 2025. So 2025 is going to be my 13th year of documenting my life in Project Life, and I'm so excited. I don't see myself stopping this type of documentation anytime soon. It is something I absolutely love. If you are new to Project Life, here's a look at just a few of my spreads from 2024. So basically, what I do is every week I document the little details of my life in a spread using various products and photos and collecting ephemera and stories from my life. For 2025, I'm going to continue in this 9x12 size. So I have two 9x12 albums here in white. These are from scrapbook.com and I will link them down below for you. If you're interested in getting the same ones that I have, I highly recommend these. These are the 9x12 size, but they have the 3 rings. So if you've gotten the 9x12 albums from Ali Edwards or Studio Calico, they have 4 rings, but I have found they're not very consistently stocking those. So these are what I prefer because I know that I'm going to be able to purchase them when I need new albums. So today what I'm going to do is set up my title page and start setting up my album for success. So I have a couple photos here. I have a photo of my boyfriend off camera because he doesn't want to be on screen to do my title page. But before I do that, I'm going to just start getting some things in the album and also get my binder label set up, which I'll share a little bit about that in a moment. So here's my 2025 craft planner. And in here, I plan out my Project Life spreads. So I have space for 2025 part 1 and then 2025 part 2 is going to be over here, which is going to start July 1st. Not really thinking about that one at this point in time, but I am thinking about this January one where I'm going to start January 1st. And you can see I already have a few spreads planned out for the beginning of the year. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some page protectors in here that are going to match what I'm looking for these specific spreads and start labeling the spreads. I also am going to create my title page, create my binder labels, and then I have something else for you guys. So let me move this out of the way. Last year, the Stories by the Month kits from Ali Edwards came with a card like this every month where I collected ephemera during the month and put it in one of my spreads that I used that kit, and it was so fun to try to collect little pieces of life, and I want to continue this in 2025. However, there are not these cards in the 2025 Stories by the Month kits or something similar, so what I decided to do is create my own. So what I'm going to do, instead of filling a 4x6 pocket, because sometimes I struggled having that in a 4x6 pocket because it wasn't really related to that week. So instead, I created these title pieces. These fit in a 2x2 pocket, and I'm going to use the 2x2 page protectors. So I have all my extra 6x8 page protectors here. And here's these ones. So I'm going to pull out 12. So these are one that I really like, but I don't tend to use them that much. So I have a lot because they come in the albums and I don't always use the ones that I get. So this is going to be a good opportunity to use up some of those. So these 6x8 pages do fit in here. You can fit them in the holes so they can be like lined up towards the bottom or the top, however you want to do it. Just 2 of the holes will fit. And so I'm going to use these to collect my ephemera throughout the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop these out and I will put one in each of these, and this will be the home for my ephemera for that month. So my plan will be to fill the full thing. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to fill both front and back. I feel like I probably won't be able to collect enough ephemera for that, but it might be where you can see the piece on the front and back, or I'll put something else on the back, or I might crop these down and make them smaller for some of the months. We'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and set all of those up and put those in my album with some of the other page protectors. I'm not going to do the full year of 9x12 page protectors because I don't know all the sizes and styles I want yet, but I'm going to start with the first half of the year and at least do January, maybe some into February as well. And then I will get these in the albums, create my title page, create my binder labels, and then be all set up to start this project on January 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys on fast forward as I get this put together.
Okay, so this page that I made here with the months on it, I have created as a free printable for you. So I have linked that in the description box below so you can go download it. It is a PDF, so you should be able to just print it out as is. I printed mine on white cardstock, but you could print this on a color or white or vellum or however you wanted to use it. If you didn't want to do the 2x2 page protectors like I'm doing, you could also adhere this on top of a 4x6 card and create your own little grid like the cards from Allie Edwards last year, or just put it on top of some ephemera in your album. There's so many different ways to use these. So I'm excited to see what you guys do with it. And I'm also excited to have these in my album as a home for my ephemera that I'm going to collect. In my mind, these are going to live within this one of the spreads for the month, but it's not going to necessarily be part of that spread. It's just going to be something that is part of the month, which is something I struggled with a little bit this last year because I didn't want to always use the Stories by the Month kit for the last week of the year, of the month, but sometimes I wanted to collect ephemera for the entire course of the month. So this way I can do this a little bit separately, and I will probably share it with one of my process videos or do it off camera and share a final image on my Instagram. We'll see how it progresses throughout the year. I'm just going to go ahead and slip these into the page protectors and set them up, stick them in my albums, and then I'm going to get started on my title page for my January through June album, and I will talk you through that process as I get to putting it together.
Okay, so I'm working on the title page. I'm using the Hello Story Kit, or at least a few pieces from it. So I pulled a couple of chipboard pieces. This one has a little bit of a, didn't punch it out well. And I have this Hello 2025 card. I have another photo to go here, which I'll add in later. And then I have the Hello word, and my plan is to do Hello New Year and stamp New Year, and then put January through June on here because I'm gonna have a second album for July through December. And then for here, I wanna put my one little word, which is pause. And I'm playing around with what I wanna include. So I had to go over to my stash and figure out papers I wanted to include. And I found this one, which I've been hoarding because I love, but it kind of goes well with the theme. And I feel like it might be fun for a background for this. And then I was originally thinking of using that stamp, but this stamp is the same font, so that might be fun to use for my stamping with this pattern paper in here. So I have that. I have some vellum to stamp on. Then I pulled over a few other things. So I have thinking, what do I want my background to be here? So I have like this guy. I feel like the hello doesn't pop enough. So I was thinking I could do one of these like colored vellums. That one's nice, but I'm not sure if the colors go really well. Maybe I can make that one work. I also pulled this rainbow thinking this might be good here, but I definitely don't like those two together. I think that might be too much color. So I'm thinking not this one. And then I pulled some neutrals to maybe go behind here for my one little word. I like this one. And I can maybe crop some out. And then I also had this one that had these hearts. I was thinking I can maybe fit one of those. So what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna go with maybe this one, and this one, and start working on putting these together and see how this kind of comes out. I'm still not committed on that one because I think that might be too much color, but if I focus on this pink, I think it might be good. We'll see.
Okay, so my cover page comes together pretty easily. I feel like I've been doing these for a long time now that I'm on my 13th year of Project Life. And I typically do 2 per year, one for the first half of the year, one for the second half. And I have a pretty basic formula. So I always include a photo of myself. I always include a photo of the other main characters in my life, which has changed over the years as I've gone through a few different relationships. My daughter is no longer present as a main character because she doesn't live at home, so I don't see her as often now that she is an adult. I also have a photo of Pumpkin. I've had photos of pets through the years. I don't always include my pets, but sometimes I do. So this year I have a photo of me, a photo of my boyfriend, and a photo of Pumpkin as the main characters in my album. I always include the year, which I've done through a couple of the pieces from the Hello Story Kit, which is what I'm primarily using for this spread. And then I'm doing some stamping with this large stamp. I'm stamped on vellum, and I sped that up quite a bit because it does take a little bit of time, and I'm going to fussy cut them out. So again, I'm going to speed it up pretty fast, but I'm writing out New Year to go on that hello card. And then I'm also putting my one little word on here. And my one little word for 2025 is pause. So I'm super excited about that. If you don't know what one little word is, it's a project from Ali Edwards. There is a class component and a whole album project that you can do. It is a project that I participated in starting in 2015 when I was going through a bad breakup, and it was very, very helpful to me. And I just loved the project. I have moved on from participating in the class content in the past few years, mostly just because I have a lot of projects I want to do, and I felt like I needed to cut some of them, and that was one that wasn't speaking to me as strongly. However, I do still very much value having a word, and instead I include it in my journaling and do my own type of reflections for it. So I am going to include it on my cover page here, and I will likely check in with it in my album, more likely in my journal throughout the year. Right now I'm going through my stamp organization binder. This is how I've cataloged all of my stamps to know what I have. I'm looking for some stamps that say the months of the year because I also like to include a reference to which months fall in this album. I know from experience that I can fit 6 months in one album, so this is going to be January through June. And I'm just looking through all of the different stamps I have for various months. If you're curious about my stamp organization system, I do have a video about this. It is a few years old now, but my system has not changed. I most likely will create an updated video sometime in 2025, but for now I will link the one I have in the description box below. It is still very relevant, and if it is something that you are looking to do in 2025, I highly recommend checking out that video. So I selected a stamp, and I'm just going to stamp January through June on this cardstock, or no, it's a chipboard label, and these came from the December Daily collection this year from Ali Edwards. And I didn't create one for July through December, but I might actually go back and do that so that I have that piece ready for when I'm going to create the title page for the second half of the year. I don't create that at this point in time because I tend to include photos from during the year on that page, and I want to be closer to July when I'm actually creating it. But I do like to have some similar elements across both pages. So I might go back and create that after I'm done editing this video. I'm adhering down the new year and the hello. The hello is from the Hello Story Kit on this piece of vellum. This vellum is from Cocoa Daisy. I believe it was from the August collection this year, which was a super fun, colorful collection that I really loved. And I'm excited that I got to use this vellum on my title page because it's one of those ones that I probably would have hoarded forever. And I'm really trying not to do that anymore with craft products. I'm adhering everything down with rolling adhesive just lightly, and then I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and stitch it in place. That is one of my favorite things to do with vellum and cut out letters. You will see that a lot in my projects, that I am adhering things with stitching. And I adhered it onto a piece of white cardstock. It was actually not perfectly white. It was a scrap of that paper that I'm using in the bottom left pocket that you will see me working on soon. And I pretty much just did that to use up more of that paper because I didn't want to just have the scrap sitting around, and just to have a little bit of cohesiveness in the colors throughout the spread, even though you really can't see it behind the vellum that is so colorful. I pulled the threads back through the back of my page and just taped them down with some Scotch tape. And then I'm going to adhere this January through June chipboard, and I will draw a line between the January and June on there, and then call this pocket done. Next, I'm going to move on to this one. So this pattern paper in the background, it says Aim High, and it has a bunch of letters on it. This was a 12 by 12 pattern paper from Studio Calico. It's pretty old, from when they had a scrapbook kit, and I had just had it in my stash, and I liked that it was a good neutral, and I thought it would work well for this spread. So I had cropped out this 4x6 card from it earlier in this video, and I cropped it kind of somewhere in the middle so that that Aim High would be in there, because I thought that would be a good sentiment to put on my page. I again took this over to my sewing machine and stitched down the word pause, and I'm pulling the thread through the back, again using Scotch tape to adhere it down onto the back. And then I'm going to put that chipboard piece that is from the Hello Story Kit. I felt like it needed something else, so I'm going to go into my stash of washi tape, and I will pull out a grid washi to put on there. First, I'm just laying everything out though to see if I like the way the spread looks or if I needed to add anything else. This grid washi tape is from Once More with Love. It is a cute stationery shop that I just recently found online. It is a silver washi grid, and there's some cute little emojis on it. You probably can't see it very well in the video, but I like just adding that little bit of texture behind that chipboard piece. I'm going to go ahead and slip everything into the pockets. That bottom right corner is going to be for the photo of my boyfriend. The photo of me and the photo of him that are on this page are from when we were in Budapest last August, and then the photo of Pumpkin is from Halloween. I just tried to select some of my favorite photos of us from the second half of 2024. Even though this is going into 2025, I found that I like to have this spread completed prior to the year starting, and this is kind of what we looked like going into the new year. For the title page for the second half of my album, I will use photos from the first half of 2025, and that just tends to be how I do these. I'm just going to go ahead and add that photo of my boyfriend in there with a sticky note on it, just so that you don't see that photo and have that one completed. Next, I'm going to move on to setting up my spreads, and I find that this is super key to staying on top of this project. So I brought over my project planner, which is in a Hobonichi Day free. And I will have a separate video coming up soon sharing my scrapbooking plans for 2025. And I will share a deeper look into this planner. But essentially, I have a list of all of my Project Life spreads for 2025. And of course, I don't have them all planned out yet because I haven't lived 2025 yet, but I have some of them planned. I know what dates they're going to be and what kits I'm going to use. And some of them I have decided the page protector arrangement. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the page protectors in my album, and I'm adding a sticky note to each spread that's indicating what the dates are and the kit that I'm going to use. I am using the specific page protectors that I'm planning to use for those spreads, if I have one planned so far, and if not, I'm just picking one of the random assortments. I tend to rotate between 3 different types. One has 9 3x4 pockets. One has 2 4x6 pockets and 5 3x4 pockets, and one has 3 4x6 pockets and 3 3x4 pockets. So I tend to just alternate between those, and I pick up all of these page protectors and this album from scrapbook.com. I will link those down in the description box below if you're interested in doing a 9x12 album as well. When I first started Project Life, I did 12x12 albums, and I did that for quite a while. I think I switched to 9x12 in 2023, and I don't really see myself going back. I really like this page or orientation, this album size. I really love it. I'm also slipping in those 2x2 pocket page protectors that I made for my ephemera, and I'm just picking a random spread from each month to put them in there. And I will move them around as I put this together. But just having these things in the album as a starting place makes this project so much more manageable for me. I'm going ahead and planning out or putting sticky notes for the spreads through the end of February. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing at that point in time. I will probably move things around. The further it gets into the future, the more it's going to change as I plan out projects and things happen in my life. I tend to do my spreads on a weekly basis that runs Monday through Sunday, but I don't always do that. I do mix it up depending on whether or not something specific happened. For example, if we're traveling, I will make that travel its own spread as opposed to following the calendar week. So I might adjust dates and such as I go through it. I also added in the 2x2 pockets for the rest of the 6 months, and I will add in more 9x12 page protectors as I go, as I get closer towards the end of the album. The last thing I'm going to do is create my binder labels. These are the labels that go on the spine of my album, and I'm going to create them for the entire year, so the 2 albums up front, just because I like having these done on my shelf. I know that these albums are designated for this project, and they already coordinate with the ones on my shelf. So I've been doing these spine to be the same, I think, for at least 4 or 5 years. I think maybe since 2021, I've been using the same format. So these are some older stamps, and I just wrote down years ago which stamp sets I use, and I just pulled those same ones back out. Because of my stamp organization system, all of my stamps are cataloged and organized, so I know which ones to pull from. So I'm just stamping out 2025, and then I'm going to stamp part 1 and part 2, and these are going to live in the spine labels for these albums. While I'm working on these albums, the part 1 of 2025 is going to live on my desk, and the part 2 one is going to live on a shelf in my scrapbook room until I get to it. Once these are completed, they will live in the living room so people can flip through them, which pretty much is just me and potentially my boyfriend or daughter. But I like just having them out there on display, and I pretty much make these projects just for myself. I enjoy the process, and I don't know, I love it a lot. So if you are considering Project Life, or you are someone who does Project Life, let me know in the comments down below why you love this project or why you want to do it. And if you're still on the fence, I do have a lot of videos on my channel all about this project. I have a starter series explaining an introduction to Project Life and some of my tips and tricks. I do have some more videos coming in that series soon, so stay tuned. I also have process videos for every week in my Project Life album for the past few years, and I intend to share those this year as well. I'm still working on finishing up 2024's Project Life album, and I will share those videos as I put them together. But something that helps me with this project is I start on 2025 or the new year as soon as it starts so that I don't fall behind. And then I will work on 2024, finishing up in between starting 2025. And that way I don't fall behind on the new year. Sometimes I know that people don't want to start the new year until they finish the last one, and sometimes you just end up falling further and further behind like that. So I like the fresh start of the new year, just starting with January, and I will fill in the next year or the last year whenever I get to it. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thank you. Bye.